Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got the new Canik METE MC9, Canik's entry into the micro-compact high-capacity market, and I've got an older player in the market, the Mossberg MC2SC. We had a few viewers ask about comparing these two, and I went and looked, and they're actually more comparable than you might think. So we'll start with the Mossberg, which is of course unloaded. And Mossberg had been out of the pistol game for quite a while, and they got back into the pistol game with the MC series, and this is the latest in that series. And it's a 11 round capacity with the flush mag, and it has 14 round capacity, if I can find the right extended mag for it. It has 14 round capacity with this magazine, so you either get a 3-finger grip with the full-size magazine, or you get a 2-finger grip, 2.5 maybe finger grip with the shorter magazine, and the dimensions of it put it right in that territory. Actually, the length of it puts it just a hair at the edge of that territory. It's 6.25 inches long, it's 4.3 inches tall, and it's 1.1 inch thick. So the 6.25 is just kind of on the outer edge of that category. Generally 6.1 is kind of where you want to keep them. But it's close enough, and it has all the other characteristics along with the short grip that would put it in that category. Now the Canik is new to this game, and it's flush 12 round magazine, so it beats the Mossberg by 1 round in its flush magazine. It also comes with a 15 round extended magazine. So when you look at that, the dimensions, or there's only one dimension this actually beats the Mossberg in. It's 6.1 instead of 6.25. The other dimensions, it's actually a little bit bigger than the Mossberg. So if I put the correct flush mag in it, with the flush mag in it, you get almost a 3-finger grip. Not quite. It's kind of like 2.5 or 2 3/4, but its grip is 4.52 as opposed to 4.3 in the Mossberg, and it's 1.12 thick as opposed to 1.1. That 0.02 just honestly isn't going to matter. And the weight on this is 21.27 versus 19.5 on the Mossberg. So dimensionally in this game here, in this particular, there's two things that matter. Size, smaller, better in this category. Other than the length, the Mossberg beats it along that. But the other part of the game is capacity. And the Canik beats it in both cases, plus 1 extra round in each of its magazine sizes. So you might think, okay, well, capacity, the Mossberg is going to be behind, and that's that. But the Canik and Mossberg both share the characteristic of being able to use magazines from their bigger brothers. In this case, I just put the 15 round magazine in from the MC2SC, and now it fits without there's not a grip extension for it. The Mossberg doesn't sell this magazine for use in this gun, but it does function. Locks back and it cycles reliably, but you're going to have a gap here, so you're going to have to be careful what you do with the finger so that it doesn't hop and pinch your finger. But it does actually work. Now, the Canik will work with magazines from the others in the TP9 Elite series. So this is a magazine from the TP9 Elite SC that I've got, and it works. Now, at that point, this is no better than the magazine that came with it, but that TP9 Elite series has bigger guns that have bigger magazines. So when you're looking at overall potential capacity, the playing field is kind of level. Both of these will use magazines from their bigger variants. Canik probably has more varieties of the TP9 Elite that have more bigger magazines, but just like the Mossberg, they're going to hang down without any sleeve because currently there's no sleeves available for this on those magazines. That may change. Mossberg, this has been out for a while and they haven't changed that, so I'm kind of inclined to believe they're not going to, but they potentially could. The next thing you look at is the various amenities that make it nicer. Front serrations, front and rear on both of them. Extended slide stop slide release on the Canik, kind of a very flush slide stop slide release on the Mossberg. That's going to be personal choice. If you like the extended ones, then the Canik is going to be one up. If not, then the Mossberg. This is very similar to Glocks and most of the other guns on the market. A couple things that the Canik wins out of the gate with is it has ambi slide stop slide release. The Mossberg doesn't offer that feature. Both of them have reversible magazine catches, but both of them are set up with the magazine catch on the left side for a right-handed shooter. The Canik beats the Mossberg again in having replaceable back straps, a feature that's not present on the Mossberg. So the Canik is winning on ergonomics. Pretty much every step of the way, it's kind of one-upping the Mossberg on ergonomics. Now, one place that the Mossberg wins is on factory sights. And when I say wins, it's my opinion, because I hate blackout sights. The Mossberg has factory really bright, easy to see 3-dot sights, and the Canik has a nice bright front sight, but a blackout rear. Now, that may just be an opinion. Other people may like the blackout, in which case you'd flip it the other way. But the playing field is level as far as optics. They're both optics ready right from the factory. So you have the ability to either change the sights, they're dovetailed, can be changed, or slap an optic on it and ignore the sights that are on it. But I would say that they're probably coming close, other than I do like the white 3 dots on the Mossberg just a hair better. Both of them are drop safe. They have an inertial toggle in the trigger. The Mossberg has a flatty style trigger and the Canik has a more curved style trigger. The inertial toggles on both of them disappear the minute you touch the trigger. And both of these trigger styles seem to work well. I didn't have a problem or one being more comfortable than the other. They just kind of worked. But one odd thing that you can see on the Mossberg is it looks like it has a rail, but it doesn't. There's no slot. So it's not usable as a Picatinny rail, and the Canik has a 3-slot rail. That's probably a big advantage for the Canik, because that allows you to easily put on lights and lasers and things like that. Now, on Glocks, it's not a big deal because there's a whole host of trigger guard lasers that are out there for Glocks, but this isn't a Glock, and its trigger guard is not shaped like one or any of the same dimensions, and I haven't seen the aftermarket pick up and come out with trigger guard lasers for this. So in this one, as far as optics of any type, lasers, lights, you're really relegated to a red dot, and that's probably all you're going to be able to do, unless the aftermarket decides to pick up and do something. One thing the Canik has going for it is it's available in the FDE like you see here, a 2-tone and black, and the Mossberg is available in any color you want as long as it's this. It just comes in black. Whether or not you want colors, that's going to be up to you, but most guns have at least black as their base variant, and then others have a couple others. This is a nice looking gun. The Canik, I think, beats the Mossberg just in looks. It's just nicer looking overall. From a price standpoint, the MSRP on the Canik is $439, and they're selling around that. The MSRP on the Mossberg is $556 for the non-optic ready and $662 for the optic ready, which would kind of say the Canik wins hands down when it comes to price. However, these Mossbergs tend to be selling on the street $450 and less, so you may be able to find them in comparable price points. But as far as out of the factory MSRP, the Canik's going to win on that. So let's talk about triggers. So the trigger on the Mossberg is nice. It's got a reasonably short take-up. It does have a little over-travel stop there. Kind of a stiff wall, about 5.5-pound wall. Crisp brake. The reset is nearly all the way out, but the overall travel is so short that all the way out really isn't that far. And then you're right on the wall in the brake. So the Mossberg does have a nice trigger. I like the trigger on the Mossberg, and I found it very functional. However, Canik, about the same amount of take-up. A longer wall. It's much lighter, but it's a longer wall. Real short reset on the Canik. You're a little bit of take-up to get back on the wall, and then a nice pull through the wall. So one thing I did find with this is the take-up. When you can hit a point, you think you're on a wall, but it's really a false wall. There's more take-up to go, and then you're actually on the real wall, and then a real crisp brake. This has a nicer trigger once you get used to it. It just tricked me a few seconds ago when I pulled back on it, and I felt like I was on the wall right here, but I wasn't. I had to pull through it a little bit. Now I'm on the wall, and then there's the brake. Overall, that tricky little part of the trigger is like anything. You get used to it. This has a really, really nice trigger. If you ignore that little false wall, it's kind of close to a PPQ in feel and reset. So when it comes to triggers, they're both nice, but I think the Canik beats the Mossberg in the trigger game. Both of these are easy to maintain. I'm not going to take them apart here because I don't want to turn this into a really long video, but you pull down these tabs just like a Glock, pull the trigger, lift it back, pull down the tabs, and it comes apart. So this is easy to get apart. Mossberg is easy to get apart, but it's different. You lock it back, you push this button and pull this back plate off, and then you pull the striker out and the slide comes off. It's kind of a weird takedown, but it's easy to do. There's no tools. This button you push with a finger. So other than it's different, you're not just going to pick this up and understand how to take it apart, but once you do know how to take it apart, it's easy to do and easy to maintain. Both of these have been good guns. The Canik had a few break-in issues, but I give any gun a break-in issue, and as long as it resolves itself quickly, and it did. A little bit of break-in and the few issues that we had with the Canik went away. The Mossberg really didn't exhibit a break-in period. It seemed to work from the beginning, but the Canik was resolved on the second range trip, so as far as I'm concerned, that's as good as working from day one. One other weird nuance, there is a thumb safety version of the Mossberg available, but it's not a thumb safety. It's actually a crossbolt safety, and this one doesn't have it, but it'd be right here, and it would push through, so it kind of works like a shotgun safety. And so it's not truly a thumb safety, it's a crossbolt safety. It's kind of strange, and it kind of goes back to Mossberg's shotgun heritage. In my mind, it's kind of a poor choice for a safety because that's significantly different from every other handgun that anybody would ever operate, where there's an actual thumb safety back here you can operate. So if you're somebody that wants a safety, I would say that neither of these guns are good choices, because that crossbolt safety is going to be too different from anything else to really be a good manual safety. So overall, which one I pick? Everything considered, I'd pick the Canik. It's got enough extra ergonomic features, the rail, the nicer trigger, and everything overall. Would you go wrong if you picked the Mossberg? I don't think so. I think it's a good gun. But for roughly the same money, or maybe a little more for the Mossberg, I think the Canik kind of beats it hands down. Overall, I've kind of really come to like Caniks. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell to be notified if you do. Please consider supporting the channel on Utreon, where we're doing videos that we can't do on YouTube anymore because of their rules, as well as some early releases when we can. Also on Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, Getter, pretty much everywhere. And thank you.